anybody who's paid attention to my politics past, introductions will learn that I'm not really a big fan of Gavin Newsom. He in a lot of ways typifies what I find wrong with the Democratic Party. Check out my appearance on the Varn vlog, See Derek Varn Show, where we talk a little bit about California politics, how there's a class politics here that is very, it looms large over the state and over people's economic, realities. And Gavin Newsom, I believe, is very much, allied with very moneyed, powerful people, right? Everybody remembers his scandal where he was eating inside a restaurant indoors with no mask on, but not many people know that he was having dinner with a lobbyist friend of his, and his administration has approved oil leases and contracts with these companies that his friend lobbies for. So I'm more concerned with that stuff than just the surface. Gavin Newsom was in a restaurant. What a hypocrite. Yeah, he's a politician. Politicians are hypocrites. What is he actually doing policy-wise? What are the decisions he's making that are that are influenced by big money in politics? Those are the things I'm concerned about. But a lot of Californians, specifically Californians on the right, got very motivated around recall elections, as I said earlier, but specifically around Newsom. That now we're at the point where this recall election, they got enough signatures, Republicans and the right-wing organizers, over anger about the lockdowns, right? So now, but the break in this story is recently there were a few recent polls, and California voters, likely voters in the recall election, are basically split over old Gavin here. This is Gavin Newsom. Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk about climate change from the wildfires here. But hold on, I just got to approve these oil leases really quick. Let me sign that. Okay, very good. So yeah, that's how I feel about Gavin Newsom. But this recall election is very interesting. If you didn't know, the Democratic Party, the state Democratic Party, in the legislature, we have a supermajority in California that made the decision to set the election day, made what many viewed at the time as a cynical decision to not have the recall election like in November, right, or October, like closer to regular election time, but it's sooner in the summer. Let's see. I have like a fact sheet on this. I can't remember. But let's read a little bit about this. This is the thing. That decision by state Democrats to move the election day of the recall election up looks like it might bite them in the ass, because guess what? Most voting Democrats aren't paying attention to this recall election. They kind of don't care. They've gone back to the proverbial brunch, as the saying goes here online. But who are paying attention to the recall election and know exactly what day and time it is people who hate Gavin Newsom and want to get him out. And now Gavin's administration, or his campaign, they're getting a little concerned. Californians who say they expect to vote in the September recall election are almost evenly divided over whether to remove Governor Gavin Newsom from office, evidence of how pivotal voter turnout will be in deciding the governor's political fate, according to a new UC Berkeley Institute of Government Studies poll co-sponsored by the Los Angeles Times. Ooh, very official. The findings dispel the notion that California's solid Democratic voter majority will provide an impenetrable shield for Newsom, and reveal a vulnerability created by a recall effort that has energized Republicans and been met with indifference by many Democrats and independent voters. The poll found that 47% of likely California voters supported recalling the Democratic governor, compared with 50% who oppose removing Newsom from office. A difference just shy of the survey's margin of error. So guys, keep in mind, these off elections are very low turnout. Very, very low turnout. This is why I believe why Nina Turner lost her primary. because that just happened in Ohio's 11th district. Our progressive Bernie supporting Nina Turner, who we stand and love and support, lost that election, I think, partially because there were just so few people. It wasn't a regular primary. It was a special primary, a special election primary. And here this recall is happening on not in November. It's a very special election. There's a bunch of other like recalls going on as well. But 47%, that's way too close for comfort. And this is interesting. Conservative talk radio host Larry Elder, who last week won a court battle to appear on the September 4th recall ballot, leads in the race to replace Newsom among the dozens of candidates in the running, while support for reality television star Caitlyn Jenner remains low. Oh, gee. The survey found 40% of likely voters remain undecided on a replacement candidate, providing ample opportunity for other gubernatorial hopefuls to rise in the ranks before the September 14th special election. Now, the way it works on the ballot, if you're here in California, they're going to be mailed to everybody, which is kind of sweet. But you're going to have two questions on this ballot. One, should we recall Gavin Newsom? Yes or no? Right? So if the yeses win, if there's a majority, yes, we should recall Gavin Newsom. Then there's the second question, which you'll mark, if he is recalled, who would you vote in his place? There's like a lot of weird people. Like Caitlyn Jenner was the punchline that everybody remembers. But let's see, I'm looking for these candidates. Here we go. People come out of the woodwork. When this kind of thing happens, you have people who are making names for themselves, but there are also people who we just recognize from California politics. Kevin Faulconer, 54, is former mayor of San Diego. Ted Gaines, Republican former state senator and assembly member. Jeff Hewitt. I mean, this is like pick your white dude, right? Riverside County supervisor. Hero to libertarians nationwide, was mayor of Calamasa after serving as a city council member. That's Jeff Hewitt. Kevin Kiley, Republican assembly member. Doug Osei or whatever. Here we are. This story has them categorized. Media celebrities. Caitlyn Jenner. Angeline is a billboard icon. I think there was also like a porn star attempting to run. Caitlyn Jenner. Kevin Peffrath, real estate broker and investor from Ventura. This is a 29-year-old Democrat with a 1.7 million subscribers to his YouTube channel on the housing market, real estate, and stock market. This guy's like a finance YouTuber. Hey, Drew Rice, watch out. This guy's, maybe you should run for something over this guy. But then you have a bunch of weird people who self-fund themselves, people with money. John Cox is the guy who ran last time. I kind of covered some of the Republican primary, and boy, John Cox was the most unremarkable, boring, I'm wearing a suit type of guy. Let me tell you what we need to do. Like, very unremarkable, but he made it through last time in the Republican primary. He's running again. Really, this is all, I mean, look at all these people. There's conservative activists. Let's see. We got a guy, Chauncey S. Slim Killens. He was a Trump supporter, attended the January 6th U.S. Capitol riot, but spoke against the violence. Well, there you go. Let's see. And yeah, so we have these other, Nicholas Wildstar, 39, of Fresno, a libertarian activist running as a Republican. Digital marketer and rapper. Wildstar ran unsuccessfully for governor in 2018. Man, he's in Orange County. That's why. That's what's going on. Liberal activists. Michael Loebs, poli-sci lecturer at San Francisco State University. Joel Ventresca of San Francisco. It's interesting. He was on the executive committee of the Services Employees International Union. That sounds like an all right guy, Joel Ventresca, right? So, just all these people coming out of the woodwork. But let's see. I have a question here that I need to respond to. Dory, and how qualified do you believe Caitlyn Jenner is to be responsible for the fifth largest economy in the world? She's also is surrounded by corporate donors and possibly dark money. Yeah, she's a cartoon character. She's a goofball. Celebrity president, or celebrity politicians tend to be some of the worst politicians, if you ask me. Like Ronald Reagan, Terrible for this country. Celebrity politician. He was an ad salesman. He was an ad man before he became an actor. Donald Trump, celebrity politician. Not good. Not very good, everybody. And then, Caitlyn Jenner, I mean, like, what is Caitlyn Jenner's policy platform? Nobody knows. Nobody knows, right? And like I said, the Dems shifting the day of this election is going to drive down turnout among Democrats. So it really kind of was shooting themselves in the foot. And you can hear how, agitated Gavin Newsom is in this interview with the SAC Bee. That's the Sacramento Bee. Pretty good, paper based in the capital of the state. So a lot of politics. But just listen to how... listen to Gavin's tone. Let me just put it that way. Let's hear his tone.
Homelessness is getting worse in California and not better.
She's asking him about homelessness.
You've established commissions and millions have been committed to the problem, and yet it gets worse. Where is it breaking down? What needs to be done that isn't being done? And given that many of those on the streets have been previously incarcerated and struggle with mental health and substance abuse challenges, are they now beyond our help?
But we also got 42,000 people off the streets last year. We did it through a novel program, first in the nation, called Project Roomkey. It inspired a lot of local actions as well. It also inspired the administration, both the Trump administration through FEMA, but also the Biden administration, to provide more ongoing support. And it also created something called Project Homekey. Homekey allowed us to procure 6,000+ housing units in less than 6 months. I took the entire state of the state, seems like 10 years ago.
So he's up in his programs, but he starts to get agitated a bit into it.
Declining gun violence and gun.
So he says something like, "I'm no friend of the defund the police movement."
Don't ever confuse me with the defund police movement.
There it is.
Our news networks doing Jim folks up so they can win the 2022 election, which of course they'd be advantaged if they can recall the governor in California.
He's complaining about Republicans. This is all Republicans' fault.
2021. Don't ever confuse me with the defund police movement.
Okay.
Hell, I was the first mayor in San Francisco history that actually met our statutory requirement of 1933 or 1973 police officers. Same time, I'm for reform, and I've made no bones about that. And I'm very proud of this state. As we've reformed the criminal justice system, we have seen a significant decline in gun violence and gun-related deaths. Not despite those policies, but because of them. It's not just about the law, it's about the culture and the attitudes and the permissiveness that sends, the message that sends. So we're going to fight hard against all those folks. Those are the folks behind the recall, by the way. Also, as I said, Tad.
So you can hear he's pretty upset. He's a little agitated. He's a little nervous. But, he's not just facing an attack from the right, or he's not just facing criticism from the right. This is a letter to the editor in the LA Times. "I'm a left-wing Democrat voting in protest to recall Newsom." I like this photo of him. Gives Newsom real, look, let me point at you. Listen to this. To the editor, "I'm a socialist Democratic voter and a trained historian of California and its 20th century housing policies. I'm not complacent about the election, and I won't vote for a Republican recall challenger. But I am voting against Governor Gavin Newsom in protest of California Democrats' decades-long inaction on our housing crisis. This is a crisis that has left thousands of our neighbors, old folks, parents and children, queer and trans and straight young people, all disproportionately people of color, to suffer and die on our streets in gross neglect of their humanity and basic dignity. Maybe a year of seeing the brutality and inhumanity of conservative policies will finally be enough to convince the party and its NIMBY voters to do right by their fellow Californians and build the housing we need and deserve." That's Matthew Enger in Pasadena. Like I said, he's facing those criticisms from the left. Newsom is just seemingly tacking right. Here he is. Newsom in recall fight says it's, quote, "not acceptable for homeless to camp on streets." So criminalizing homelessness. Here's Gavin Newsom talking to some unhoused folks. Governor Gavin Newsom expressed strong support Thursday for increased efforts around California to remove large homeless encampments, calling them unacceptable and saying the state will need more federal help to create additional housing and expand services for homeless people. Newsom's comments come at a time of growing alarm over the homelessness crisis, which has become a focus of criticism by Republican candidates running to replace him in the upcoming recall election. Newsom took on the state's most vexing and politically potent issue when he became governor, pouring billions into building more shelters and housing. The latest state budget commits $12 billion over the next 2 years to not just more motel purchases and funding for mental health care facilities, but also encampment cleanups and hazardous waste removal. Keep in mind, Republicans complain about homelessness and the right complains about homelessness in California endlessly. They don't have any answers. It's just criminalization. They just want to criminalize people who are unhoused. But when you see this, and frankly, this is mirrored in a decision by the LA City Council not too long ago, last week, to ban tent camping in many public areas of Los Angeles, either city proper or county. And here we just see, this is like, this is liberal criminalization of homelessness and the unhoused. And really the answer is, I'm sorry, but $12 billion over 10 years is not enough for housing. And if Newsom's doing anything right, it's calling on the federal government. We need public housing. But public housing hasn't been built, fresh new public housing, I don't know when, probably since before I was born. This country needs public housing, specifically in California. We need it to address issues with climate change and wildfires. Like the way we are living is unsafe in these environments, in the way rural areas and wilderness abut with cities and towns. Someone in the comments there, I think Devoid Reality, was saying how, towns in Oregon are just gone now because of wildfires. We need new housing to address, there's all of those issues, but also just to, invest in the infrastructure of housing that is actually going to, protect us from some of these, natural disasters, which aren't exactly disasters anymore. They're the outcome, the predictable outcome of our failure to act on this. Let's see. So Gavin Newsom is given is giving kind of lending his voice. The recall has affected him and his decisions a lot. I definitely think his decision to reopen as early as we did here in California, the state's decision to do that had a lot to do with the recall. So a lot of the infection rates climbing again that we're seeing, maybe we opened too early or didn't take enough protections as we should have. The mask mandate, getting kicked in again, it's all that stuff. It's all connected as I see it. All I know is my good friend MAGA Teddy, he hates Gavin Newsom. We got him calling in. MAGA Teddy, are you there? Hey, Joe, how you doing? Hey, MAGA Teddy, thanks for joining the show. We're talking about Gavin Newsom. I know. Listen, recall election September 14th. Everybody get your mail-in ballots. I know mail-in ballots are corrupt and evil, and they got bamboo in there from China, but these ones are okay because you can vote out Gavin Newsom, who's a bad man. Gavin Newsom, he's a bad man. All I want to do is go to Buffalo Wild Wings and drink blue cheese dressing, and he won't let me. Okay, Teddy. Well, I've let you vent enough. Your Gavin Newsom hatred. Thank you for joining us. That was MAGA Teddy, everybody. He's Teddy from Bob's Burgers, but a MAGA supporter. He hates Gavin Newsom. I tell him, hey, man, log off, touch grass. Teddy, just relax. He's one man. He's one governor. You can't control everything.